What's up, everybody? It's Ty the Bourbon Guy, and today I'm going to walk through some of the whiskeys that I've picked up in the month of November 2023. I think I have to start with none other than a liquor store that I have been working with and partnered with, or whatever you want to call it, for years now. West Clay Wine and Spirits in West Carmel, suburb of Indianapolis. If you're familiar with that area, or if you live in that area, you definitely need to check them out. It was a liquor store that when I first got here, I realized that they knew what they were talking about when it came to whiskey. They weren't trying to just sell me something, and they were focused on the experience of their customers. So, hey, if you want to try this, that bottle's $100, or whatever it may be. Why don't you try this first? Have you ever tried it? Let's try it first before you spend the money. And I thought, yeah, what a concept. So super friendly, always amazing customer service, amazing looking store, clean. The vibe is always right there. There's always something going on in that store. That's one thing. But their knowledge of whiskey and their palates aligned with mine, I realized that very quickly too. When they went to go do a barrel pick of something, a lot of the time, my palate aligns with that. Not every time. There's been some things that I didn't like as much, but for the most part, I can trust their palate. I know that they know what they're doing when they're picking these things, and they're not just trying to sell me it because they picked it. So let's start there. It has to be the Four Roses single barrel pick. Now, this is the one they did. This is an OESQ. It's a 10-year, 7-month. And I mean, just I don't know if it's going to pick up on the camera right, but that color is darker than any Four Roses barrel strength that I can remember. Any single barrel pick from Four Roses, I don't remember seeing, a bottle that dark. And for those that may not be as familiar with bourbon, you can't color it like you can certain other whiskeys. So whatever that color is what that color is. There's no artificial coloring. And again, just like many other products in their store, I was able to try this before I bought it. They had a great event, sold out, I think, 2 hours, something like that. So, the hype is there. And I think Four Roses single barrels tend to, sell themselves. But again, they try to make it an event. They try to make it a full experience for all their customers. And hopefully the people that were there to buy those bottles are there to enjoy them as well. All right, from there, we got to go from West Carmel over to Kansas City, Missouri. So KCMO, I lived there for a few years and fell in love with that city. Great city to be in. And so when I started seeing this distillery making a name for itself coming out of Kansas City, I was very intrigued, wanted to know more about it. I wanted to know, is their product any good? And then when I see they have a bottled in bond expression, that typically tells me everything I really need to know, because I can tell right off the bat that they're not sourcing this. This is them. It's all coming from, meeting all the regulations of a bottled in bond bourbon. And so to put that product out and to start seeing people really start to get behind it and support it was awesome. Then I see, man, they got another bottle coming out that's a wheated bourbon. So this particular one, I finally found in Indiana. Soft red wheat, bottled in bond, Missouri straight bourbon whiskey. So, and not only is it bottled in bond, you're assuming, okay, at least 4 years, right? But they have an age statement on here of it being 6 years old. So, I think that this is where transparency comes in, and whiskey nerds like myself love to see this. So they break down, and I'll roll it or whatever I got to do, but they break down on the side of this bottle which floor it's coming from, which rick house, the percentage of which floor, when it was distilled, when it was bottled, how old it is exactly. So age 6 years. Again, it says here on the label, obviously 100 proof. Again, for those that may not know, bottled in bond has to be 100 proof. To me, I'm really excited to try this. I've heard great things about this bottle in particular. Again, amazing things about this distillery. It seems like everything about them is legit, and it seems like one that I really need to keep on my radar. But I'm going to go ahead and try this very soon. Review coming soon for sure. All right, so we're going to go back from Kansas City, Missouri, back over to Indiana, and we're going to stay on the track of amazing distilleries doing amazing things, and one of those distilleries will be Starlight. Starlight is another one that, I've seen them around for a few years, but just recently, it seems like, maybe in the past, I would say year and a half, all of a sudden, it's like everybody's talking about them, which is awesome. Anytime you're in an area or a state or whatever it may be, and then all of a sudden you're looking at Whiskey Tube and all this other stuff, and you see all these people talking about it, that is a good thing. That means that people are really starting to understand that there's great products coming out of this distillery. So all their stuff has been really good that I've had so far. I've enjoyed pretty much, I think, everything I've had. I don't know that I've had something that I disliked from them. So far, the Double Oaked is my favorite product from them. But as is everything in whiskey, once one item does well, or one product does well with something, whether it's finishing or whether it's a cigar batch or a cigar blend or whatever it may be, everybody kind of follows suit. So when I saw that they had a cigar batch or a blend, it was something that I was interested in, naturally, just because other cigar batches or blends have been pretty good. And I like Starlight, so what is there not to like in this idea here? So to go back and try it, I think originally, I may be wrong here, but I thought it was distillery exclusive originally. I didn't really ever see this around ever. And I live in Indiana. So if it's harder for me to find in the state, then maybe. But then recently on my hunting, I saw this bottle just sitting there. Not only is it's a cigar batch, which for them is bourbon whiskey finished in Brazilian Amburana barrels. So, you know, this is their product, right? But this is actually a store pick. So this was picked by Bourbon World. And so this isn't even just their generic bottle. And I think that it's been pretty cool because, yes, I saw this pop up first, but then all of a sudden I started seeing the actual product just sitting on a shelf. So again, really cool to see what Starlight does. They do a lot with finishes. And it seems like if I talk to people around the country, Starlight is in high demand in other places too. So if you live in Indiana and you see it all over the shelves, like I do, don't take it for granted. Don't underestimate them. Try the whiskey. I think it's one of those that you buy it and try it then. I don't think you necessarily need to try it before you buy, whatever the situation is. Just buy it. Support local, support your home state, support all the whiskey that is coming out of some of these craft distilleries, and figure out what you like. What finishes do you like? What do you not like? And go from there. But I'm definitely excited to try this one, and we will be giving it a shot here sometime soon on the channel. And of course, I can't bring it back to Indiana without discussing one particular well-known Indiana distillery. So MGP, for those that may not know, is a distillery based out of Indiana that, I'll give you the short form, that basically provided whiskey or sourced out their whiskey to other companies, because basically when you're trying to start a whiskey company, you can't just begin. Obviously, you have to age that product over a certain amount of years. But if you don't have that type of time to wait, and you have the investment, and the money and all that aligned, you need the whiskey. So at the time, MGP just kind of, sold their whiskey and the barrels to other people to basically bottle under a different label. Well, it's only a matter of time before people start searching for certain bottles, because they know that that's coming from Indiana, that's coming from this particular distillery of MGP, and MGP catches on to this and realizes we better bottle our own stuff, right? So, I mean, that kind of all makes sense to me. I will forever call them MGP. I hate the name Ross and Squibb. Nobody ever asked me, but I don't know. MGP has become a well-known name in the whiskey world, a well-known brand. And so to change that up to Ross and Squibb and all this other stuff, to me, it's just like, why are you doing it? But again, that's not what I'm here to discuss. I'm here to discuss this Remus Repeal batch. So this particular one is a blend of, it's got 2007, 13, 14, 13, and 14 again. A lot of different things going on here. It tells you the percentage of rye. So I love this type of transparency. Anytime we can discuss percentages coming out, what year that percentage is from, how much of it is rye, how much of it is, most of the rest of it's going to be corn. I love that transparency. They bottle it at 100 proof. And this is the Remus Repeal Reserve number 7. So for me personally, it's gotten to a point where I've had all of them. I think, so 1 and 2 are gone. I still have a little bit of 3 on in my collection. So for me, it's one of these bottles that I'm going to buy it just because I need it in the collection, right? I have to have it. And to me, if certain batches start to fall off, or maybe they're not as good as prior years, when do they get it back? And I don't want to not buy it. And then it comes back this year, and all of a sudden this is the best batch ever, and you got to have it. And I passed on it. It's this whole thing. It's this whole thing. But either way, batch 7 I had to get, and part of the collection. I've heard good things so far. I'm just not a fan. I understand it. I understand completely of, oh, this batch 3 is way better than batch 6. I understand it, but I also think at the end of the day, that's just whiskey nerds like myself kind of just nerding out, right? Well, we could talk about certain batches being better than other batches, then I get it. That's part of the fun. That's part of being an enthusiast. But we have to remember that other people getting into bourbon or getting into whiskey are also checking out that same content, or they're hearing those same comments, whether it's a group or whatever it may be, and they're thinking the same thing. Well, at the end of the day, that Remus Repeal is still going to be a really good bourbon. So I haven't even tried it, and I know it's going to be, pretty good. Now, at that price point, I think we have to start looking at what else is available around there. But when we start pinpointing certain batches of any whiskey, I think that it's just one of those things that we have to be careful with and be specific, and also know who our audience is. Who are we talking to when we're doing that, right? That's just my 2 cents. But again, nobody really asked for it. And last but not least, we're going to go back from Indiana to Kentucky, where it all started, right? Something like that. And this particular one is another one of those same things where I'm always going to buy it. Like I'm always going to buy every single batch that I ever see. I don't really care what's said about it. And that would be Booker's. Now, again, this catches a lot of heat because for those that may not know, Booker's pricing over the years has increased. People don't feel like these batches are as good as they once were. A whole variety of things. I have said in other videos that I don't necessarily like being marketed to. I don't like when a company is trying to pretty up the packaging, because a lot of the times it's trying to hide what's inside. For Booker's, though, they have had quality batches, plenty of them, in the past. So their pretty packaging is not necessarily trying to hide anything. That's just what it is. It stands apart on a shelf because of the wooden crate that it comes in, or box. I shouldn't say crate. That maybe gives you the wrong impression. The wooden box that it comes in. And, there's always a story. There's always how it came up with its name. And a lot of times whiskey companies do this, and they know people like me are going to go turn around and buy the next one because it's a different batch, it's a different story, it's a different name, and I'm going to keep buying it over and over again. Whereas if I had it originally, maybe, and there was no story, no batch, no nothing, it was just Booker's bourbon sitting on a shelf, maybe I don't buy it and give them repeat business as much as I am. You never know. But that could be the logic. I'm not sure. But either way, I am a sucker for bourbon. That too. I am a sucker for Booker's. And it's one of those ones that I don't really care. I'm going to buy it every single time. I just enjoy it. I enjoy the whole experience that bourbon brings. But this particular one is the 2023-03 batch. This is the Mighty Fine batch. And again, not just this one, but all of these I look forward to reviewing. And I mean, spoiler alert, I don't think I went wrong with any of these. There might be some obviously that are going to be better than others, but I think overall, I would be surprised if I disliked any of these that I bought. So these are some of the ones that I picked up in the month of November. Really excited to review them all. I can't wait to forget just reviewing them. I can't wait to actually open them up and try them with the holidays, right here this time of year. I'm looking forward to being with friends, being with family, opening these bottles and sharing them with my friends and family. I think each of these provide a different experience. They provide a different story. And I think it's really cool to be able to, kind of talk with my friends and family and discuss the differences between each of these, because they're each going to provide a very different experience. And I think that's what's cool too. So when you're out doing whiskey hunting and all that other stuff, I know these bottles, certain ones are highly sought after, and you're looking for that one particular bottle, but just keep in mind overall different experiences too. When you see some craft distilleries that maybe you've heard about and just haven't tried, give them a try. Try out their product, see if there's certain ones, and don't just try one thing. Try whatever you can of theirs and just see what you like of theirs. I think it's really important to support those craft distilleries. It's important to support your home state, all the stuff coming out of that. So really excited for that. The month of December, I think, will bring even more. You have, again, holidays coming up. And what do you get Ty the Bourbon Guy for Christmas? Most people get me bourbon. So I think the December video will be a fun one as well to do. I look forward to doing that. I'll be a little busy as I'm welcoming my second child into the world in the month of December, but I'll still find time to make these videos. I might look a lot more tired than what I do in these videos now, but I'll figure it out one way or another. But I appreciate you all tuning in. If you've watched this long, again, might as well subscribe, might as well comment, do all the things. You know what to do. And I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.